Do you know about an explosion that killed 575,000 people? How powerful do you think it was? Did you know that pressing just one wrong button could trigger a massive explosion affecting 2 billion people worldwide? In this episode of Earth's Wildest Secrets, we'll count down the world's 10 most devastating and shocking explosion disasters. Press and hold like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and let's find out what really happened. Number 10. The Texas fertilizer plant explosion. On April 17th, local U.S. time, near the town of West, Texas, a fertilizer plant suddenly exploded. The blast was so powerful it was compared to an atomic bomb. A fireball over 30 meters wide erupted instantly, launching high into the air. A towering mushroom cloud followed moments later. Shockwaves were felt more than 60 kilometers away. Several homes were flattened in seconds. As of April 19, 2013, Beijing time, the death toll had reached 35 people, including 10 first responders who arrived at the scene early. More than 160 people were injured. Investigators stated that the massive crater marked the exact location where ammonium nitrate was stored. However, the exact cause of the explosion, whether human error or something else, remains unknown to this day. Number 9. The Shijiazhuang explosion. At 4:16 a.m. on March 16, 2001. In Shijiazhuang, Hebei province, dormitory building No. 15 on Yukai Street was rocked by a massive blast. Countless sleeping residents were jolted awake. People panicked, still unsure what was happening, when more explosions followed one after another. Residents rushed downstairs in fear, only to see a scene that made everyone freeze in shock. A massive hole tore through building 15, while the once lively building 16 had turned into a pile of rubble. Friends who had just eaten dinner together and chatted the night before were buried beneath the ruins, never to wake up, and desperate calls for help filled the air. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Within less than 40 minutes, 3 more explosions struck within a 3-kilometer radius. This terrifying chain of blasts killed 108 people and injured 38 others. The cause? A local man named Jin Ruchao, who had personal conflicts with the residents. He was arrested on March 23, 2001, and sentenced to death on April 29th. Number 8. The Beirut explosion. On August 4, 2020, warehouse No. 12 at the port of Beirut erupted with a loud smoke rose into the sky. Crackling sounds echoed like fireworks. Unaware of the danger, residents pulled out their phones, thinking it was some kind of firework test. After all, Warehouse 12 stored massive amounts of fireworks, but seconds later, a red fire dragon burst from the smoke. A colossal mushroom cloud shot into the sky. A devastating shockwave spread rapidly outward, destroying everything in its path. Even the presidential palace, 10 kilometers away, was damaged. Glass shattered within a 240-kilometer radius. Witnesses said injured people filled the streets. Screams rang out everywhere. Thick smoke blanketed the city, while raging fires swallowed the capital. It felt like the end of the world. Investigators later confirmed that 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate had been improperly stored in Warehouse 12. Nearby fireworks made the blast even deadlier. The disaster killed 190 people, injured more than 6,500, and left 3 missing. Even the Lebanese prime minister's wife and daughter were injured in the blast. The explosion wiped out nearly a month's worth of the country's food supply and left almost 300,000 people homeless. Direct economic losses reached $15 billion. Do you know just how powerful the Tianjin explosion really was? 25 firefighters responded as a unit. All 25 were killed. Next up, let's count down the 10 most devastating explosions in human history. Number 8. The Tianjin port explosion, August 12, 2015, at 10:51 p.m. Binhai New Area, Tianjin. A strange flash of light suddenly lit up the night sky above the port. At Tianjin Port, a hazardous materials warehouse by a company called Reup caught fire. Firefighters from the Tianjin Port Public Security Bureau arrived first, but the fire was already completely out of control. Nearby fire brigades rushed in to support the operation, just as firefighters were battling the flames at the front line. The first explosion struck without any warning. A massive fireball shot dozens of meters into the air. Flames swept through everything like a raging firestorm. Firefighters closest to the blast were instantly swallowed by the shockwave. Just 30 seconds later, a second explosion followed. This time, the explosion was even more powerful than the first. Towering flames consumed everything in sight. The scene looked like the end of the world. Together, the 2 blasts equaled the force of 450 tons of TNT. In total, the fire burned non-stop for 2 full days before being contained. But handling the hazardous debris took far longer. The investigation later revealed that chemical hazardous materials were stored improperly in the warehouse. Spontaneous chemical reactions ignited nearby materials, triggering the explosions. The disaster claimed 165 lives. 798 people were injured. Direct economic losses reached 6.866 billion RMB. Among the dead, 110 were firefighters involved in the rescue, along with police officers. Tianjin Port's 5th Fire Brigade sent 25 firefighters. None of them returned. Many were young men in their early 20s, from rural areas in Hebei, Shandong, and northeast China. After the fire, only the charred remains of the captain and 1 firefighter were found. Number 6. The Halifax explosion. Halifax is a major port city in Canada, busy and thriving. Countless ships pass through every single day, bringing life and energy to the city. On December 6, 1917, the harbor was busy as usual. But accidents always strike when you least expect them. A French cargo ship carrying 5,000 tons of explosives, Mont-Blanc, collided with a Belgian relief ship. Fire quickly spread across both vessels. Meanwhile, many civilians failed to grasp the danger. Instead, they gathered at the harbor to watch the spectacle. In a split second, the Mont-Blanc exploded. A massive column of black smoke rose to a height of 3 kilometers. Within a 5 square kilometer radius, everything was flattened by the shockwave. Even towns over 100 kilometers away had shattered windows. Over 2,000 people were killed instantly. More than 9,000 were injured. The Halifax explosion was the deadliest man-made explosion. Before the invention of the atomic bomb, it nearly wiped Halifax off the map. It took 25 years for the city to fully recover. Number 5. The 9/11 terrorist attacks. 2001. Two domestic flights in the United States were hijacked and deliberately flown into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center nearly 500 miles per hour. They slammed straight into the skyscrapers. Thick smoke filled the sky. Fires erupted everywhere. Explosions echoed non-stop. Firefighters rushed inside to begin rescue operations. But just as rescue efforts intensified, both towers suddenly collapsed, burying everyone beneath the rubble. And it didn't stop there. At the same time, American Airlines Flight 77. It crashed at nearly 500 miles per hour into the Pentagon, the heart of U.S. defense. Countless military officers died amid the explosions and flames. United Airlines Flight 93 also lost control. It slammed straight into a field in Pennsylvania. Investigations later revealed all 4 planes had been hijacked by terrorists. The final plane was originally heading for the White House, but the passengers fought back with everything they had. The aircraft lost control and missed its intended target. This terrorist attack killed at least 1,996 people. Direct economic losses exceeded $100 billion. So, how devastating can a single wrong decision really be? Next, let's continue counting down the most painful explosions. Number 4. The Fukushima nuclear disaster, March 11, 2011. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake struck, causing massive nationwide damage. But for earthquake-prone Japan, this initially felt almost routine. What no one expected was that this quake would trigger a nuclear nightmare. The earthquake caused multiple reactor failures at two Fukushima nuclear plants. At the Daiichi plant, 1 reactor malfunctioned, leading to radioactive steam leaks. On March 12, Unit 1 suffered a hydrogen explosion, triggering a partial blast. Radioactive materials were released into the air, carried by winds as far as China, and even parts of Russia. On March 14th and 15th, Units 3 and 4 also exploded due to hydrogen buildup. Within a 320-kilometer radius, the area was saturated with radioactive contamination. Nearly 1,000 Fukushima residents and the surrounding ecosystem suffered severe nuclear pollution. This nuclear leak also exposed major flaws in emergency response systems. At first, the Fukushima incident was rated level 4. But repeated government delays and cover-ups allowed the disaster to escalate into a level 7 nuclear catastrophe. So far, over 20,000 people have died, directly or indirectly. Total losses are estimated at nearly $200 billion. Number 3. Little Boy, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Little Boy was the first nuclear weapon ever used in actual warfare. It detonated over Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. The bomb contained 64 kilograms of uranium-235. The explosion released energy equivalent to 15 kilotons of TNT. A massive mushroom cloud rose into the sky, filled with radioactive debris. Within 1 kilometer of ground zero, people suffered 5th-degree burns. Their skin was completely carbonized. Radioactive dust mixed with moisture in the cloud, forming what became known as black rain. This highly radioactive rain fell across Hiroshima, contaminating rivers and land. Refugees who unknowingly drank this water often died within days. By 2010, the death toll linked to the bombing had reached approximately 270,000 people. Even today, parts of Hiroshima near Io Bridge remain classified as radiation-contaminated zones. Number 2. The Bhopal gas disaster of India. India's government invited the American company, Union Carbide, to produce pesticides and industrial chemicals at its Bhopal facility. 3 massive stainless steel storage tanks held 45 tons of methyl isocyanate, a deadly chemical. No one imagined that what promised economic growth would instead become death's scythe. On December 2, 1984, a factory worker noticed that methyl isocyanate was leaking. Once released, this highly volatile and toxic gas was unstoppable. The consequences were unimaginable. The worker warned others to evacuate, but it was already too late. Unable to withstand the pressure, the tank exploded. Toxic gas spread outward at roughly 5 kilometers per hour. It seeped through every crack and alley. Many people never woke up. They died in their sleep. Inside the factory, employees evacuated calmly and in order. Outside, the poor had no protection, running blindly through the toxic cloud. Even the wind showed no mercy, carrying the gas straight into the city. Within just days, over 8,000 people had died. Union Carbide later provided treatment guidelines, but local management suppressed the information. Even today, Toxic contamination in Bhopal continues to affect residents. An estimated 575,000 victims have died directly or indirectly in suffering. And now, Number 1. The Chernobyl nuclear explosion, April 26, 1986. Reactor No. 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. The blast released massive amounts of radioactive radiation drifted into the atmosphere, spreading across continents. The radiation dose exceeded 400 times that of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. In Ukraine, over 50% of the land was contaminated. Of the first 28 firefighters on site, many later died from radiation exposure. Subsequent rescue workers also suffered severe health issues. On the day of the accident, a safety test was being conducted. It failed repeatedly. Yet management refused to stop the test, ordering it to continue. Operators ignored safety protocols, leading directly to the disaster. The explosion ultimately caused nearly 80,000 deaths. Around 134,000 people suffered radiation-related illnesses. In total, 1.7 million people were directly affected. Total losses are estimated at nearly $200 billion.